Hello, I'm Henry Mockingbird.
And I'm Gary the Penguin.
And welcome to 20th Century Reviews. Today we're going to review Alice in Wonderland. Now before you say anything, Gary, this one was not made by Tim Burton.
It isn't?
No, it's not. It was a black and white 1933 film.
Fine with me. At least we don't have to sit through a whole video looking at Johnny Depp's makeup, looking like Johnny Depp played Bozo the Clown.
Now, without further ado, let's start reviewing.
I am a little troubled to talk about what happens in Alice in Wonderland. The only question is, there's so much stuff that happens in it. The only question on my mind is, what doesn't happen in Alice in Wonderland? So without giving any spoilers, I'm going to talk about individual scenes instead of just talking about the plot. 1933 classic Alice in Wonderland is based on both Lewis Carroll's books, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. But there are some differences. For instance, this one sets in the winter instead of the summer. The first scene opens with a snowy house. Then it cuts to a fireplace and then Alice reading a book. Then she plays with a pet turtle. And then Alice plays with her father's chest. And then she looks at her aunt and uncle's photograph. She claims that she saw a rabbit with an overcoat, but it turns out it was just an ordinary rabbit. She looks at the looking glass before falling asleep, and then waking up trying to go through the looking glass, which takes from the Alice Through the Looking Glass book. Here's the thing. It takes from both the Alice in Wonderland book and the Through the Looking Glass book. It goes back and forth and then back again all throughout the movie. The next scene is the caterpillar scene, which in this scene Alice is very chatty. The caterpillar is played by the way, the caterpillar is played by Ned Sparks, who you may remember from 42nd Street, or when I reviewed Gold Diggers of 1933, and I did bring him up in when I did my last review with so there's your first idea that this isn't going to be the last time I talk about him. During the scene, Alice is very chatty while the caterpillar barely says a word. I bet Alice feels like falling through a rabbit hole after that exposition dump she took on the caterpillar. The caterpillar tells her that one side will make her grow taller, and the other side will make her grow shorter. So she eats some mushroom, and she grows and grows until she's big again. Then she grows small. Now she's small, and the fish brings an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet. The fish sounds a lot like Piglet. Winnie the Pooh. It's been a while since I've seen Winnie the Pooh. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. What do I reference? I already brought up Piglet, so I gotta show something here. The frog gets all banged up by the cook's dishes and even gets his wig knocked off when he bows to the fish. The frog is played by veteran voice actor Sterling Holloway, who was the voice for Mr. Stork in the original Disney Dumbo from 1941. He was Cheshire Cat from the original 1951 Alice in Wonderland. He was the voice of Winnie the Pooh, the original voice. He was the voice of Kaa from the original Jungle Book that Disney made. He was also Rupert the Mouse from the Aristocats. During my Gold Diggers of 1933 review, I forgot to mention that Sterling Holloway makes a cameo. Look. He made an appearance as a bellboy. Alice meets the Griffin. The Griffin tells Alice that the Queen never executes anyone she condemns. The Queen is played by... Now the Mock Turtle, who they meet in the scene, who Alice meets, the Mock Turtle is played by Cary Grant. With that costume on, you can barely tell it's him. The Mock Turtle talks about his school days and sings Turtle Soup. Griffin and Alice go run and run, and the Griffin turns into the Red Queen, which is a character which takes from the Through the Looking Glass book. The Red Queen, who's played by Edna Mae Oliver. The Red Queen tells Alice that life is a chessboard and that if she follows it, she'll become Queen of Wonderland. Oliver is quite funny in this, although she said that with a face like a horse, what can I do but play comedy? But her filmography reveals otherwise.
Young man, have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror? Sure, have you? I was in hopes you wouldn't bring that up.
Another scene is Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Tweedledum is played by Jack Oak. I best remember him in Navy Blues. Tweedledum and Tweedledee talks about The Walrus and the Carpenter, which is an animated segment. The animated segment is animated by who else? My idol, Mac Fletcher, who's best remembered for creating Betty Boop and Popeye. Alice runs into Humpty Dumpty, played by W.C. Fields. They have a little chit-chat, talk about unbirthdays and other things. Even though you can't really recognize W.C. Fields with that costume on, you can tell it's him by just listening to his voice. That's pretty much the only thing that's recognizable about the scene, is his voice. I wonder if they tried to dub it. Well, never mind about that. Those are all the scenes I'm going to talk about. What do you think? I think the 1933 Alice in Wonderland is one of the best movie adaptations of the stories made. Well, next to the 1951 version. This film was made during the pre-code era of Hollywood. Even though there are no pre-codes going on, it's still pre-code because there's some bizarre moments in the film, like other films of this era. Why does Alice in Wonderland movies have to be weird? Because that's what makes it so interesting, Gary. There's a reason why there's been so many adaptations of the Alice in Wonderland story. In that case, cue I'm Odd song.
My head begins to jingle most every time I nod. 'Cause obviously, quite obviously, I'm odd. Each Christmas I go fishing to catch a Christmas cod. 'Cause obviously, quite obviously, I'm odd.
It was written in 1933.
I knew that. Alice talk about the heroine. Like most versions, Alice is quite curious. Alice is played by Charlotte Henry, who brings a childlike quality to the role. Just like Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz, she's a teenager. She was also in Babes in Toyland, along with Laurel and Hardy. Talk about the special effects, which are little chess people. The little chess people are about a foot high. Now the effects here are pretty impressive and pretty amazing for 1933. And I think this is the first film to depict little people 1 year before Bride of Frankenstein and way before the movie The Incredible Shrinking Man and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Well, I talked about all the ups of the film. What are the downs of the film? Well, there are two. One flaw this film has is with its release. When it first came out, nobody recognized who was who because of all the makeup and the costumes and prosthetics. Even though the opening set made it clear who was who, but that didn't really help its release. Say whatever the hell you want about this makeup, but at least it's a gazillion times better than this. Another flaw this film has is when it was first released in theaters, it was 90 minutes long. But when it was sold to TV, it was cut down to 77 minutes long. And the 77-minute version has been the only one available since. and it really sucks that we don't have it. The film wasn't very successful when it first came out, and because of it, there were no live-action fantasy movies until The Wizard of Oz. But it managed to gain a cult following through TV and was released on DVD in 2010. 5.6 on IMDb score and a 58 on Rotten Tomato. There's not really much else to say about this film. Well, tune in next time and join me and Gary and my new friend Chimpy of reviewing the film, the 1933 classic King Kong. I know I keep saying I'm going to review Casablanca, but I'm saving it till after the project. Well, so long, folks. I give the film 5 stars. Push subscribe and push like, and don't forget to leave comment down below.